Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome each and every one of you to our weekly program entitled The Economic Forum with our brother, Professor Abbas Mohammed from the United States of America. We welcome each and every one of you to this program that we entitled Economic Program, just to enlighten mankind, particularly our Ghanaian politicians in general, about the economic situation in our country. And our brother is here with us in person to address this issue. And as Muslims, ideally, we always start our program by giving all praises to God Almighty, who enabled us to be here, and to wish each and every one of you the greetings of peace, in which we say in the ancient Semitic language of Arabic, Assalamu alaikum, which only means in English, peace be unto you all. Without much ado, the topic that we want to deal with it today is economic and academic impact on U.S. student visa ban on Ghanaians. So our brother will address this important issue in due course, and we invite each and every one of you to partake in this program. And in the course of time, if you have any question, please, you can send it, and our brother will address it. So without much ado, I'll hand you over to our brother, Professor Abbas Mohammed, who is here with us. Bismillah.
Thank you once again for having me. Thank you, Walkia TV, for giving us the opportunity to discuss this important matter. I know over the last few days, we've been dealing with the issue of U.S. visa. It was first, like a rumor going on, and now it's come to stay, or it's actually going to happen. The fact that there's going to be on a ban on students coming into the United States because of visa violation, which has exceeded the quota that they've given us. So we found ourselves in a situation where we have to discuss the effect of the, the ban on our nation's economic as well as academic future. And we know the potential of the U.S. student visa on Ghanaians will pose a significant challenges to not only our students, but also our economy and national development. So I believe that this challenge presents an opportunity for us to rethink our growth strategies, and an opportunity, like we discussed last week, to diversify our economy. So I'm trying to look at the ban in several ways, and I've identified some areas where I feel like it's going to be impacted the most. One is loss of remittances. If you recall, I shared in the program here that U.S. with the other diaspora contribute about $4.6 billion to the Ghanaian economy in terms of remittances. All right, so U.S. alone has about $3 billion. So this is going to reduce our financial inflows from the students and as well as the other residents who are on the U.S. visa. So this could also be an opportunity for us to explore alternatives as we look at foreign exchange reserves. And that is why I want us to pay attention to. Another one I see is a brain drain. So when you look at the Ghana's brightest, they're often attracted by the West. So as we look at, what are the challenges or what are the effects, you think about it as an opportunity for us to actually bring our brightest back. Because oftentimes when we go and finish studies like myself, they find a way of, luring you in so you can stay and contribute to the economy. And that's where we are. And so this should be seen as an opportunity for Ghana to actually bring back their good.
That's right.
And then the issue of economic instability, which will also be an opportunity for Ghanaians if we take an opportunity that when we are going through the ban, we will have an opportunity to really look at ourselves and grow our economy where it needs to be, because now you have a lot of talent coming back. All right, so it's an opportunity for us to rethink our strategies, where I feel like we have to actually take advantage of it. So the last time we discussed diversifying the economy, so this is where it will matter. Where in the process of diversifying our economy, we'll have an opportunity to actually give our students the opportunities in terms of jobs. So if Ghana really wants to take advantage of this and look at it as an opportunity and not like a curse, we can actually grow out of it, where we grow our economy in terms of being able to create an economy that is diversifying, meaning industrialization. All right, all the key sectors that we talked about. All right, activate those areas, give the students the opportunity to actually find jobs here. All right, and then we have to also be strategic about really, as a matter of sovereignty, be able to have a pipeline for students who are graduating to come back.
That's right.
That is something we haven't done.
Okay.
Like some of us, when we graduated, there was no way of you realizing where the opportunities are because of the way the system is set up. So first, we have to make sure that these job opportunities are created. But the only way we can do that is to diversify the economy.
Okay.
Because in the process, jobs will open up.
That's right.
Because if you look at it, the job opportunities here are very limited. In terms of a graduate getting a job is very, very limited because there's no business going on. So as I walk, like today, as I'm walking around, I see everybody trying to sell something. So you see the entrepreneurial spirit.
That's right.
But the question is, what are we producing?
That's right.
Everything is important. So can we change the narrative?
That's right.
And that's where the conversation needs to begin. I know you have a lot of questions, so I will give you the opportunity to ask the questions.
Okay.
And we'll go through it. Maybe we'll be able to address some of the issues about diversification and industrialization and how we grow from here.
That's right. That's fine. That's fine. As you say, we have a lot of questions. Yes. And the first one goes to you. Should the government negotiate diplomatically to substitute with some America's vital interest for scholarship abroad? Or let me repeat the question. Should the government negotiate diplomatically to substitute with some America's vital interest for scholarship abroad?
For scholarship abroad, if I understand, are you saying that we should seek scholarship?
No. What I'm saying is that should the government diplomatically negotiate with the American government our raw materials for scholarship?
Okay, for scholarship.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And that would be an interesting proposition. But I would rather do the reverse.
Okay.
Why don't we process the raw materials, add value, and give the students who are going out the opportunity to work here?
Okay. Okay.
And strategically, if there's going to be any negotiation, strategically, what we need to do is to only ask for scholarship, actually fund students to go and learn expertise and come back. The reason why I say this is my experience when I was in graduate school. The Chinese that were with me were all sponsored by the government.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese students that were in the same class as me are the ones running the show in China, because we are about the same age.
Okay.
Because if you look at my age and the people running the show in Ghana, these are my colleagues. Most of them. I know most of them. So they're my colleagues running the show in Ghana. So if you take that to China, how did they do this? They send students abroad. They don't even ask for scholarship. Fully funded.
That's right.
To come home and bring the expertise. So rather than even negotiating for scholarship, now scholarship is like begging. I want us to get out of the mindset of always asking.
Okay.
Let's create our own opportunities because we have what it takes. All right. If we can diversify the raw material, add value, sell it at the highest price in the world market, you will make the money enough to pay for all your scholarship abroad. But they have to come back. China didn't send them to stay in America. They tell you that we're here to school and go back.
Okay.
And they did go back.
Yeah.
And these are critical programs. You're talking about tech management in Colombia. All the guys in my Colombian class went home. But I stayed.
Yeah.
And they gave you all this knowledge.
That's right.
Only to stay in their country. That's why they won't let you go.
That's right.
But if we are strategic, there are programs like the technical programs. Technology is a big thing. So if we want to invest and bring the expertise back,
I got
don't
it.
ask.
Got a
Let's
point.
start from the point of accent for everything.
Okay, okay, okay. It's understandable. Let's go to the second question. Is it an option for Ghana to redirect its student scholarship abroad to Cuba, who have been giving doctors to Ghana annually for the past 20 years?
I think that is an option we still have to explore, especially if you look at the medical field. Not only Ghanaians, go to Cuba, even Americans. The smaller ones that don't want to pay the high price, they'll go to areas like that around US.
Okay.
To get a medical degree and come and intern to start practice in the US.
Okay.
So these are places that have known to produce talent when it comes to medical.
Okay.
So I think we can leverage that to accelerate the growth, because we are at a point where our growth is stalled. We're not moving.
Okay.
So if we want to move medically, have doctors, be in a situation where we can actually have doctors powering all our ambulances if we ever have ambulances.
We have.
So then we have to accelerate growth by striking those partnerships.
That's right.
Cuba is one. There are other countries that we can also look at to partner and send students, but they have to come back.
Okay.
And when they come back, they have to be given the opportunity to work. That's where the challenge is.
Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic. Then let's go to the third question. Can the government of Ghana also stop supplying some of its mineral resources like cocoa, timber, bauxite, etc., for the exchange of scholarship in America?
Like I said, I don't like the exchanging raw material for scholarship strategy. I think it's still like old school. We are in a system where things are moving fast. Everybody is trying to add value to whatever things that they're doing.
Okay.
Whatever you're producing, you want to move to the next level. If you're doing cars, you produce electric vehicles.
That's right. That's right.
So why are we the only countries in Africa who's producing raw materials? Can we also change?
That's right.
So I don't want us to think that we have to exchange something of a high value for something less.
That's right.
Because in the process of diversifying or adding value to the raw materials, you will create an opportunity where you can actually pay for more than the scholarship is giving you. So why don't you do that? Get foreign reserves, enough to pay for more than what the scholarship will offer. And that's where we need to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this question is related to the first question that was asked. And it goes this way. What policy should the government enact to stop qualified doctors and nurses in Ghana traveling abroad for benefit the foreign government after their national service? Which means, what policy can the government enact to keep the student here after their national service instead of serving another country?
That's providing competitive package for service. Because the question you have to ask is, what is attracting them to leave?
Okay.
Why are the nurses being attracted by the West? Why are the doctors being attracted by the West? It's the working environment, the offer that they have. Can we match it? And the answer is yes, if we can get to work.
Okay.
Because what we're dealing with is, because we're not creating so much, revenues are tight. Compensation for nurses is way low. Compensation for doctors is way low. And therefore, you are forcing them out after spending so much money to get them educated. After spending so much money to get some of us educated all the way up to university, why do we have to seek pastures somewhere else? The question is, can we be competitive? And the only way you can be competitive is if you're creative. Until you solve the economic problem, you cannot solve the conditions of work problem.
Okay.
Because the money is not coming. The monies are tight. And then solve the corruption. Allowing people to take the country for a ride is something we have to look into. The last time we suggested some ways of doing that. So if the institutions are not, the issue of institutions is not solved, then it makes the resources very scarce. And the question about Africa is not scarcity of resources. I want us to get out of that mindset.
That's right.
Resources are not limited by its existence in nature. Resources are limited by the corrupt systems that we have. That's taking it away from the public. So if we're honest enough and look at ourselves and look at the endowment of resources that we have in this country of ours, then we will realize that should we start working? I don't think we've started working, to be honest. If we start working and harnessing the resources, we have returns enough for doctors to get paid well, nurses to get paid well, everybody get paid well to match the competitive environment that's in the West.
Okay. This question is very important, Prof. We are living in a global world, global village, that's what we call it.
Yes.
So it means we need each other.
Yes.
Considering the fact that the Western world cannot do without Africa in terms of human resources and natural resources. For instance, when it comes to sports and play, the best football player happens to be a black man, really. When you come to athletics, it's from Jamaica, Usain Bolt. When you come to boxing, Muhammad Ali. When you come to tennis, the Williams sister, Serena Williams and her sister. In every field of human endeavor, both in natural resources and human resources, we need each other. Without us, they can't function. So when it comes to natural resources, things like it's the African raw materials that feeds the companies and industries abroad. Without these resources, most companies in America will be closed down or will shut down. Can Ghana, as a sovereign nation, also take a strong stand to stop the supply of these resources to the Americans and negotiate with them in terms of exchange, need each other? Can we stand as a foreign nation to stop or put a stop to the supply of our expertise?
Okay.
In exchange for something that will also benefit us, like what the government in Burkina Faso is doing.
Yeah, we are sovereign nation.
So what policy do you think the government should enact in order to let us understand that we need each other? They need us and we need them too.
The only way is if we address our economic challenges internally rather than depending on them to help us solve it. It looks like we go to them for everything. So if you want to have your sovereignty, the most important sovereignty you can ever have is to have economic sovereignty.
Okay.
If you can have economic sovereignty, how do you achieve that is a question we should ask ourselves.
Okay.
You want to bargain, you want to challenge the West about the need for equity in terms of balancing the trade, right? We have to balance it. It looks like that's where you're looking at. But you cannot do that if you're not standing on anything. You have to learn to industrialize, diversify, and then you can have the chip to negotiate.
Okay.
But right now we don't have the chips to go to the bargaining agreement because we sell it for so cheap. And we feed in the industries with that. So why don't we, as a matter of national sovereignty, begin to process things and sell finished goods? If they want to be partners in that, they will have to come down. And as a strategy, conditions of partnering with those companies is going to be to infuse our national homegrown people into the system. So eventually, in 20 to 30 years, we will take over the prices.
Okay.
Countries are doing that, like China.
Yeah.
They'll bring you in, show them how things are done. I find what? In 30 years, you'll be gone, and they will run their own. That's a national sovereignty approach. They want the money. They want to make the money. They want to take advantage. They know the system. They know the process. So if you have a natural resource that you think you oversupplying and you want to stop it, rather than stopping it and having zero income, you can take an alternative approach. Let them come and situate the companies where the resources are in your country, and then have a strategy, long-term strategy, to actually be the ones in charge in the future, rather than selling your resource for life. And that's why you see Apple is still in China.
Yeah.
When they were questioned as to why don't you want to come back to the US, they said people have misunderstood economics of why companies, locate outside the US shores. And one of them, he said, was the resources other than the cheap labor. Why technical resource?
Okay. Brilliant point.
So if we can build these, that's why I said, what do we have on the table? You can just bring raw materials and negotiate for a better outcome. No. Because they leave you with it, what you're going to do.
That's right. It will end up spoiling.
So you have no
choice.
Option.
That's right.
But to take what they give you.
Exactly.
But if you take time and process, you build education that's robust to the times.
That's right.
Not old school courses that don't add value to anything.
That's right. I agree.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
About the current times. Education that means something.
Okay.
Ready to go to industry kind of education. Instead of 5 years, 4 years, bachelor's.
I got it. Very, very brilliant points. I understand. And this is what has been going on for a very, very long time. We don't have a choice than to give it out at any other cost.
Yes.
We don't have a choice. Yes. So I got it. Now this question is from our brother Yusuf. What has been the historical relationship between Ghana and institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank?
Yusuf and IMF.
And what has been the historical relationship between Ghana? Sure. Okay, please excuse us. No, catering. Please excuse us. There is some kind of. So, Mr. Prof, why don't you throw some more light before our brother?
Yeah, so like I was saying, if you look at our negotiation, we don't seem to come to the table with anything of value.
Okay.
Nothing gives us the competitive edge in terms of negotiating for a better outcome. When you come in with raw materials, and if the alternative for negotiating is only to end up losing everything you worked so hard to produce, why don't you process it and then come up with the finished goods? If it's the expertise of how to do that you don't have, like I said the last time, we have what we call the advantage of backwardness, where people have done it. You just learn the process and tweak it to suit what it is that you want to do.
So is it an option for sovereign nation in Africa to trade among ourselves?
Yes.
Now that some of these countries have even, cut from the African Union.
And that's where we need to go.
Okay.
That's actually where we need to start, because it's easier trade route than dealing with the West.
That's right.
Like, let's talk about food, for example. If Burkina is doing tomatoes, it's producing tomatoes, they're producing rice. All right. We have to start talking to them and see how much are they producing enough to help to feed us, to bring it in. If they're producing enough, why do you have to produce tomatoes? You've picked something else, then you can exchange.
Okay.
That's where the international trade happens. Because if they're producing more than what they consume, that means they have the, what do we call, comparative advantage.
That's right.
If they have the comparative advantage, that means they're producing at the least cost. So you don't have to produce at your cost, because we're probably going to start setting up factory, getting the expertise, production to the quantities we desire is going to be more expensive than if we bring it next door.
Okay.
Burkina is just next door.
That's right.
So you talk to Burkina. Okay, you have the process, you have the know-how. Can you increase your production to give us some, and then we will produce something else? You go to the north, the wheat. How many forms of grains do they have in the north?
Okay.
That we can actually produce and exchange with them. And just around the borders of Burkina, we can have something to produce and exchange with Burkina. So the travel is reduced.
Okay.
The cost of bringing the food is reduced. All right? Because we don't have good roads. That is something we have to think about. So strategically, we can look at our borders. Who's next door? What are they doing? That we can bring in and do something from where we are, add value and exchange. We don't have to repeat the process and at a higher cost.
Okay.
Because the smartest trade is done on comparative advantage.
That's
whoever produce at the least cost needs to ship it out to a country that will produce at a higher cost.
That's right.
And then you also have expertise in something that they don't have. Then you produce at the least cost and then send it over. What we call the opportunity cost. So that's how trade happens. So Africa is our starting point because of the cost of travel, of shipping the goods, cost of shipping. So Africa will be a good way to start, given the fact that Ghana is located next to Burkina, and Burkina is doing something amazing.
This policy from South Africa, Africa without borders, and the Sahel states trying to use one simple currency. What benefit do you think will benefit Africa if this comes to, fruition?
In the long term, it's going to benefit Africa because it's going to maintain the value of our currency.
Okay.
If 3 or 4 countries are using the same, currency, so instead of you going across the Sahel region and exchanging your money for CFA, you will choose whatever currency. It helps the currency have its stability.
Okay.
And not only are they doing that, they're doing that supported by the strong economies they build it. Everything, your currency is as strong as your economy.
That's right.
All right. So if your economy is not that vibrant, eventually your currency will give in. So that's to support Bahumia's statement. If the fundamentals are weak,
the
exchange rate will expose you.
That's
so
right.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
No matter how artificially you're able to maintain the value of your currency, eventually you'll get exposed.
Okay.
But if the Sahel region is going to do it with the backbone of sustainable economic environment like they build it right now, you look at what Niger is following to do. Niger has a lot of uranium. All right. So if they're gonna leverage that, Burkina has already started. The other countries, Mali is also looking.
Yeah.
So once they start, building the economics like that, then they're gonna give pressures to other countries to follow suit. Yes.
Let me go to the second question because I think the first one has been addressed already. So it goes like this: what fields of study are most commonly pursued by Ghanaian students in the United States?
Number one field is health.
Okay.
I think that's the number one field because that one is almost guaranteed a job will be waiting if you finish health. And then now the sciences is coming mostly. So it's the health, and then the general sciences is going to be the most desired areas because of job opportunities. And then you have the business administration and other areas also coming in. Again, opportunities because of that. All right. So that's where we build in talent. All right. All these nurses with experience, because in the US, a nurse is like a doctor here.
Okay.
Because they learn so much. They're the caregivers. The doctor only come to inspect the work of the nurse and make recommendations.
Okay.
So basically the nurses are very well trained to take care of patients as if they
are the ones doing the job.
Doing everything. The doctor only looks at the report the nurse is making after diagnosing the patient the first time. Even the diagnosis, who takes the vitals and all of that. And then with the consultation of the nurse, they come up with, a cure regimen for what is bothering you. And then the nurse takes over until the doctor comes again to check. So they make the jobs easier for the doctors. That's why they're very well compensated.
They only give prescriptions.
Prescriptions, everything. They can recommend all of that. And if you up yourself in terms of having a master's in nursing practice, you can actually open your operations as a practice, like a doctor.
Currently, there are some students, some undergraduate students, they are still trying to they are now applying for student US visa. So what do you think is their option?
The option is to look elsewhere because it's not going anywhere. If the ban stays, because Mr. Trump is not going to ease on that. Once he makes his mind, he will follow through. That's how he thinks. So you just have to look elsewhere. But the question is, as individuals, students 24-hour economy is not tied to a bigger goal.
Okay.
It's like a slogan to me. It stands as a slogan, to be honest, to me.
Okay.
It still stands as a slogan in the sense that it's not tied to how many jobs do we want to create in the private sector, not the government.
Okay.
If you have an economy that's state-led job growth, and I'm sorry, it's going to take a while. But let's encourage privatization as much as we can in the industries, and they will determine their 24-hour economy. No state or government determines 24-hour economy in the US. The market determines that. There are areas in our economy in Texas where it's operated 24 hours. The areas where there's not a lot of business will shut down midnight. So you don't have to force it. New York runs 24 hours. It's not even running the whole country, the whole New York State 24 hours. Okay. It's not like that. It's certain streets that are 24 hours, like downtown, all those areas around Times Square, 24 hours, yes. But go just 2 blocks outside of that, businesses have shut down. You don't force that on anybody. You let the business decide. But it's the economics that needs to work. Give people the opportunity. They will find their 24 hours. If somebody is running a business that has a lot of demand on their product, you think they will shut down? They will open 24 hours to produce to meet their demand. The government don't have to come in. It's not a government call. I don't know why it's such a big deal. It's not a government call, 24 hours. Because you as a government don't produce anything. Tell me what the government produce. You just offer a lot of times services. Government offices is service driven. Here we want to drive not only services, goods. Who's producing the goods? Nobody. Who's producing the goods we sell on the street? Not Ghana. So can we start producing those? So if we can start producing those, then the 24-hour economy will power that. Okay. So you don't have to force it. That's right. So the only way 24-hour economy will help your situation, your question is to tie it to an industrialization effort. Okay. If it's not tied to something bigger, then it's not going to serve the purpose. Otherwise, you're telling me that you're going to bring them to only come and work for the government. The government can hire everybody.
Now, listen to this, Mr. Prof. What is the estimated amount of remittances or financial support Ghana received from Ghanaian students studying in the US?
I don't have specific for students. I have the US that stands right now at 3 billion, including students. Okay. Really students, they don't often work a lot of time. Okay. They work 25 hours here and there, so it's minimal hours. So if they work, minimum hours from 20 billion, even give or take, you can give them 1 billion, it's okay. But the question is, it's going to take a hit on the economy, regardless. Even if it's $1 million. It's something that we don't make, that we're going to lose. So why can't we substitute that with a production activity? Okay. That's all I'm asking. Like, right. Instead of the $3 billion that we're going to lose from US, we're not going to lose all 3 billion because students don't often work a lot. So if it's even $5 million, let's say, I'll find the data and next time I'll share with you exactly how much the students are contributing to this economy. Okay. But whatever it is, what is your substitution method? Okay. For how much they bring in? Produce something. That's right. Simple as that. Produce something, replace that money, and then offer jobs in the process. Okay. So you see, anytime we solve a problem with a production activity, you are solving another problem. People on the street are coming out to get a job. The unemployed, the graduates, they're not going to be getting in. But the private sector is not moving. And government can hire everybody. That's right. So the opportunities are limited. Only few people can get in. That's right. A lot of graduates are waiting. And then the opportunities are here. The resources are here. Let's get going.
Sir, how could a ban impact the local economy, especially no. Have you answered this? Okay, let's see this. How should the Ghana government respond diplomatically to US student visa ban? What should be the government reaction to that?
If I'm in charge, I won't even react. I will just go to work.
That's right.
Because it's an opportunity for you.
Exactly.
Do you want to do that? You want to ban US students from coming? How many are they coming? So there's nothing to really retaliate or negotiate for. Just fix your problem, period.
Say, let me say this to you. You know, we are still tied to IMF and World Bank, all right? Their conditionalities will never allow us to go to the next level, because this privatization that they give us an option before giving us money means we should sell all what government owns as a representative of the people. So therefore, some of their demands are to reduce the number of workers. If there is low current in a company, not all workers work, only few, so the rest has to go home. So how do you think the government should substitute that in order to improve the economy? Because we are still under the influence of the IMF. We are not yet cut the umbilical cord. We are still tied to the IMF loan. And this conditionality that we should reduce the workers as an option for us to get money. These workers will end up sitting home idle. Instead of employing more workers to enable us to achieve the 24-hour business, we are rather going backwards instead of going forward.
So what is the alternative is the question, right? So
That's right.
What else can we do? The question is, are they the only institution we can partner with? And the answer is no. There are other institutions. Actually, there are even individuals, private individuals, that we can partner with. Somebody like Dangote is just right next door in Nigeria. Do we want to have a partnership with him to refine our gold? I always bring you to adding value. You cannot grow doing what we're doing. We just have to add value, right? So why don't you bring somebody like that strategically to start thinking about process of refining our gold? Or we can even look with it to fund refinery. You know what that would do? It will give you more revenue than what IMF will give you. Right now we're talking about 3 billion loan facility. That's putting bottlenecks on our economy. Like I said, we are generating about city appreciation simply because we are spending. If you don't spend, how do you grow? We're not building any serious infrastructure. We cut down the spending under their recommendation, and then fuel prices, and then we have electric tariff, all the conditions to hurt the Ghanaian citizen. So if they're not placing the Ghanaian citizen and you keep going at them to help you with funding things, then you're not ready to grow. The only way you can cut the so-called umbilical cord with them is to seek alternatives, whether it's private individuals or other nations. We have Russia, we have China. We negotiate your China deals. Again, in every negotiation, we have to look for our sovereignty and interest. That's where we lack it. We seem to be lacking. We rush for the money, we don't think through things, and then we do contracts that hurt us. bring back your reserves here, not in London, bring it back here, build the reserves, get more foreign reserves, and improve on the opportunities in terms of diversifying the other sectors of the economy with the money that we get in terms of the reserves that we get. Then open the economy up for people. We just stuck in one place when the money are here, opportunities are here, we don't seem to go anywhere. And that's the problem. We just have to work and give our people the opportunity to also do something with their lives. But there's no reason for us to be stuck in one place. You look at the Obuasi story, how many years? Goldface, all these Ashanti gold, all of them have come and gone. But what can we show for it?
Can local scholarships and exchange programs fill the gap left by the US visa ban?
Before we can even worry about the US visa ban, I want us to even worry about the unemployed graduates that we have. We want to add to it. That's basically what the ban is. The solution to the ban is going to be getting more graduates, if they ever come back, to add to the unemployment scenario. So why don't
Very
we start?
fantastic interaction with our brother Professor Abbas. We could have continued on and on. There are a lot of questions we are not able to answer all those questions, but inshallah, meaning by Allah's permission, next week we'll continue from where we stopped. But as custom demands, we'll take some 5 minutes to allow our brother to speak in a local dialect for us to benefit some of our mothers and fathers and our brothers who don't understand English language. So a wannan lokacin ne ma dan uwanmu Professor Abbas Mohammed wanda ya fito daga kasar America zuwa nan Ghana a wannan tasha namu na Wakiya TV saboda yazo dan fahimtar da mu akan batun tattalin arzikin kasar mu. Kuma masha Allah ya iyakan nasa kokari ya mana bayani yadda za a samu maslaha akan tsagaita ainihin wani abin da ake cewa scholarship, izini na kare neman ilimi a kasar America da shugaban ya dakatar. Menene maslaha ya tattauna da mu, ya karatar da mu kuma mun fahimce shi. To amma yana da kyau a al'ada mu ma mu dan gutsura ma ƴan uwayenmu wanda ba sa jin turanci su fahimci wani menene aka tattauna a wannan filin Walkiya TV saboda su ma su dan amfana. Yasa ba tare da bata lokaci ba zan mika ku hannun dan uwanmu Professor Abbas ya dan takaita mana na minti 5 me muka tattauna a harshen Hausa. Yasa jama'a a saurara. Sannan da Allah muna bara cewa duk wanda suka kalli wannan program din su yi kokari su share yayi nisa ya je viral har 'yan siyasar mu su samu fahimtar cewa akwai wani abin da ke faruwa a nan Walkiya TV, kila dan maganganun da yayi za su sa a cikin gwamnati don mu amfana mu duka dai abin da muke bukata kenan, yadda za a yi kowa ya amfana a kan da muke ciki wanda Allah ne ba mu. Shi yasa za mu mika ku da hannun dan uwanmu ya dan mana bayani a Hausance me ya gudana a wannan filin, wani abu ne muka tattauna a cikin Hausa. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
To har yanzu dai muna nan muna tattaunawa, kuma mun gode da Allah da kuma Walkiya TV da yau suka ba mu dama muka zamna muka tattauna kan wannan maudu'i na wato scholarship kenan da ko kuma visa da ake samu a ji karatu kasan Amurka. To yau dai ya kai shugaban ya tashi ya ce zai janye ko kuma ya janye ma in ba so ma ba. To shine tambayin da ya zo ne, me yanzu za mu iya yi matsayinmu na farko individuals ko kuma students, sannan na biyu kuma gwamnati, me ya kamata gwamnati ya yi. Students dai yanzu dai dama ya zo ka fara tunani menene za ka koyu a jami'a ko university da zai kawo ma amfani da ma ba a gane ku. So kenan yanzu ya kai ga gwamnati ya tashi kwana ya ba waɗanda kenan dama su sun gama su samu wajen shiga, sannan waɗanda za su yi karatu kasan waje ba Amurka kawai ba, su ma sun gama suka zo za samu waje a sa su. To inda ba mu falka da wannan ba, to yanzu aiki ya same mu, yanzu unemployment graduate zai yawa. Wato waɗanda za su kare su ba su ba aiki za su kare yawa. Wasu ma sukun can da suke zuwa in ba su samu sun taimanin ma ba sa su ya shiga ba. To yanzu kaga matsala ya zo kwarai ku. Sannan kuma amfani da ake samu ga waɗanda ke turan suna school ko kuma suna aiki, sun gama school suna aiki, amfani da suke kawo da garin na kusan 4.6 billion na dala da ake kawowa ga from waɗanda ke turai, wannan kuma zai rage. To wannan ragowar mai gwamnati zai yi ya mayar wannan amfanin cikin system, wannan kuma ya zama aikin shi. So inda muna son mu yi da juna gaskiya lokaci ya kai gwamnati ya nashi, mu kuma individuals mu duba kanmu da kanmu mu ga menene abin yi da su a fara tattaunawa wajen Allah ya yi.
To jazakallah khairan, mun gode kwarai Professor Abbas, Allah ya saka maka da alkhairi. Kuma wa'anda suka samu lokaci suka baibaye mu muna muku godiya, amma insha Allah za mu ci gaba da yi nan da sati mai zuwa ruwa na Litinin karfe 5 zuwa 6. Muna gayyatan ku sake zuwa Walkiya TV saboda wani sabon mu'awara da za mu dan tattauna. Amma kamin dai mu aje alƙalamin, muna muku godiya kwarai da gaske, kuma muna barin cewa duk wanda ya kalli wannan program din yayi kokari shi ma ya tura ma ɗan uwansa ko ina, ya zamana abin ya je ya viral, mana duk kowa ya san da wannan program din shi ma ya amfana. Muna muku gaisuwa kuma ta addinin musulunci na muka fara. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.